All right, let's talk about something they definitely don't teach you in school. There's this radical idea that building wealth isn't about luck or grinding away for 40 years, but about following a specific equation. If you've ever felt like you're playing a financial game that's just rigged against you, trust me, you are not alone. But what if you could learn the real rules? Let's get into it. For most of us, the path to getting ahead financially just feels like a constant, exhausting uphill battle. We do all the things we're told to do, right? Get the degree, land the good job. But somehow, real wealth just stays completely out of reach. To really get why, we first have to wrap our heads around the sheer scale of the game we're in. Okay, picture this. $1 million. For a lot of us, that's the dream, right? A life-changing amount of money.
But then you've got 10 million.
And then a billion? I mean, it's a number so huge, it's almost not real. It's hard to even comprehend. And to put that into perspective, at his peak, Jeff Bezos was worth over $117 billion. The scale of this it's staggering. So after thinking about those astronomical numbers, let's bring it all the way back down to earth, to the reality that most of us are actually living. Does this sound familiar? You're working the job that your degree was supposed to guarantee, but living expenses are just crushing you. The pay never feels like it's enough, that student debt is always hanging over your head, and trying to build any kind of real savings, it just feels impossible. This isn't just you. This is the reality for millions of people.
And all of that leads to this one really harsh conclusion that, if we're being honest, many of us have felt deep down. It feels like no matter how hard you play by the supposed rules, you're just set up to lose.
But here's a thought. What if that feeling, that helplessness, is based on playing the wrong game with the wrong rules? What if there's a different game entirely, with an actual, legitimate equation for building wealth? Okay, so to understand this new equation, we first have to do some serious unlearning. We have to tear down the myths and the bad advice that society, and maybe even our own families, have taught us about money and wealthy people. You know the biggest myth of all? Oh, rich people just inherit all their money? Well, the data says, nope, not even close. A recent report showed that 68%, almost 7 out of 10, of the world's ultra-wealthy are self-made. People like Oprah, Jeff Bezos, they didn't get a handout. They were using a completely different playbook.
See, the playbook most of us are given is really simple. Time equals money. You trade your hours for a wage, that's it. But that is the trap. The wealthy, they operate on a completely different equation, one that breaks the link between their time and their income.
And let me show you exactly why trading time for money is a dead end. Let's say you're making a decent $20 an hour. To make a single $1 million, it would take you almost 24 years. And that's before they take out taxes and before inflation eats away at it. You're trading your most valuable asset, your time, for a shockingly small return. So if trading our time away is the wrong path, what's the right one? Well, it all comes down to one core principle that self-made wealthy people understand in their bones. It's not about how many hours you work. It's about the perceived value you provide to the world. The market, which is just other people, gets to decide what your contribution is actually worth. Think about it like this. A cleaner might work much harder physically than an accountant, but their job is easily replaceable, so the market perceives its value as being lower. The accountant, on the other hand, has a very specialized skill that can save a company thousands of dollars. That's a high perceived value. The market doesn't reward hard work. It rewards being hard to replace and providing high-impact results. And this brings us to it, the actual wealth equation. It's a simple 3-step process. First, you find a problem. Second, you create a solution for it. And third, and this is the absolute key, you build that solution to scale so it can reach a huge number of people. Now, this requires a complete shift in your thinking. If you want to make money, you have to stop chasing money. Seriously. Instead, start chasing problems. Look for the frustrations, the inconveniences, the things people wish were better. The amount of money you can make is directly tied to the size of the problem you solve. Okay, let's zoom in on that third step, scale, because this right here is where true wealth is actually built. It's not enough to just have a good solution. You have to be able to get it to the masses. This is the crucial difference between creating another job for yourself and creating a true asset.
A yoga teacher who charges by the hour can only teach so many classes in a day. Their income is directly tied to their time. But an online yoga course, that can be sold to thousands of people 24/7 all over the world with basically no extra time spent per customer. That is a scalable business. That has decoupled income from time. So you do all this. You find a problem, you create a scalable solution, you build a successful business. But why? What's the real point of all this hard work? I promise you, it's probably not what you think. Because at the end of the day, money is just a tool. The whole pursuit of wealth was never actually about the paper itself. It's about the one thing that money can buy you, freedom. The freedom to spend your life how you want to, without constantly having to ask, can I afford this? And that freedom, it all comes down to this: time. It is the one finite, non-renewable resource we all have. The whole equation, solving problems, building to scale, it's ultimately a strategy to buy back your own time. So this leaves us with one final and maybe the most powerful question of all. This path isn't easy. It's a struggle. So the question you need to ask isn't just, how can I make money? The real question is, what problem out there is actually worth your meaningful struggle? Because the answer to that, that's where you'll truly find your path to wealth.